Thank you so much for joining me today because I think this is just so cool to have a chat with you about music. And welcome to my
Thank you.
Singers Having Coffee podcast. And I see you've got a coffee.
I don't have a coffee. I
You
have a
don't?
matcha latte, but
Oh, I
I
love
saw that
the.
your podcast was called Having Coffee, and I was like, I'm not really a coffee drinker though.
Do you know what? I should really say singers having hot beverages because, like, as singers always needs a hot beverage.
Love
I
that.
should really like cross out the fact that I'm drinking one called Frecher Flirt from Teekanne. It's just like a bog standard tea bag because it's like way too late for me to drink coffee. I couldn't. Singers having coffee before midday is what I should really have called the podcast.
That's good.
Singers having singers sometimes having coffee. So, Julia, it's so lovely to see you and have you here on the podcast today as well. And it's amazing because I wanted to have you on because I'm really in awe of what you are doing with your music and what you have been. I really am. I'm not
Don't
shitting
make
you. It's
me
like
blush.
this because I'm so in awe of what you've been doing with your music. I think a lot of the time what you've done is essentially what I hear every single adult student. I don't know if an 8-year-old comes into the studio saying like, I really want to put out an album, but like I definitely have a lot of adults coming in saying, like I'd really like to sing at weddings, which is what you're doing. I'd really like to perform more, which is what you're doing. I'd really like to record my own music, which is like what you're doing. So I think so incredible. And that's why I wanted to, to have you on to talk about, you know, you did not start though. Like, did you study music? You didn't study music, right? What did you study? Did you do an Ausbildung? What did you?
So yeah, I didn't have any education in music. Like
Mm-hmm.
I studied interactive media, it's called.
Cool.
So yeah, I kind of did design stuff most of the time, and I just had a couple singing lessons while I was in school. So like I don't know, 17 to 18 or something. And then I started taking singing lessons again, like in my late 20s, I think.
Okay.
So, oh, and I learned to play the guitar. I think I was like 15 or something. I started learning that, but
Fantastic.
I was like, even that before that, I actually started playing the flute, but I wasn't really into it because you can't really sing while playing the flute, right? So I wanted to
Look
learn
at
another
Lizzo.
instrument.
She makes it work.
Oh, really? She is? Oh, wow, I didn't know.
Lizzo, have you not seen her? Like she plays the flute like mad in her concerts.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't known her for a long time. Like I just heard about her a few months ago actually. So I
Oh,
don't really
really?
know a lot of her things. But
I love Lizzo. I do my hair toss, check my
uh,
nails, baby. How
yeah,
you
yeah,
feel?
that's pretty cool.
She's amazing, but she also does like a lot with. I'm not saying like whip out your flute and like do a dance. She's incredible, but she does do like a lot with flutes. So I think I suppose anything's possible.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so I was inspired by my mother. What is that? My stepmother, I think. She plays the flute really well.
cool.
She's like a professional, I'd say. And so I wanted to learn that from a really young age, and
Uh
then
huh.
I stopped that because it was too
Okay.
classical for me. And I got into playing the guitar because I also liked rock and things like that. And I was really bad though. for
Okay.
I'm still bad, I'd say. Even though it's been over 10 years now learning to play the guitar. But yeah, and but I never really had a lot of singing lessons, like except for now. I like just a bit in school, but
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't really a good student there, I think.
Okay.
So um so yeah,
Do you mean
then
in your like in your original singing lessons or like in school?
in my original singing lessons,
Okay.
I was a good student in school, which is probably why I wasn't a good singing student. I don't know. I didn't have time for both, I think.
Okay.
So yeah. But yeah, then I didn't really take any lessons at all for a couple of
Uh huh.
years. And I started again just a few years back. And just in 2020, I was like, I actually really want to do this. I keep coming back to this. So I
Mm-hmm.
really want to take some more time to really get into it and like do it properly, I guess.
Oh, that's amazing though. But do you come from a musical family, or was that, I mean, apart from your stepmom, did anyone else in your family play an instrument?
Not at all,
No?
actually. Like, my mother, she sang to me sometimes, but like just like how you sing along on the radio. And
Mhm.
I think she can probably sing quite well for an average person, but like not, yeah, still average, I'd say. Maybe.
Mhm.
Sorry, mom, but and yeah, my dad, he wasn't musical at all. My stepdad also wasn't musical at all. So I grew up
Mhm.
with my mom and my stepdad, basically. And yeah, I just saw some more music in the family of my stepmom, actually, but
Mhm.
I didn't really visit them often. So it was just like she inspired me to play the flute, and then after
Cool.
that, that was that. But yeah.
And then afterwards, bye, stepmom, yeah. But I think that's so cool because I often get asked that, like, do your is your family musical or anything? My family is not musical, like, in the slightest. I think people feel like they've had this disadvantage because their families aren't musical. And I mean, my mum sings a bit when like no one else is listening or like to the radio if I'm not in the room. But, like, my dad is absolutely tone deaf. Like, he tries his absolute best, but he's so awful. But it's like he just sings with a lot of passion, which I really, really love. But no, there's, like, no music in my
Yeah,
family,
they're
like,
pretty
whatsoever.
similar to mine
Yeah.
then.
I think it's just such a I think it's a misconception that you have to come from some sort of musical family. I think people look at someone like Jacob Collier or like Billie Eilish, where they come from these like amazingly musical families, or like artistic families, and they feel like they're sort of hard done by, or they can't make it, or they can't start, or it's hard to start just because they haven't had it. And I think it is probably harder to start. I think there wasn't that sort of, like, especially in my family, there wasn't that, like, let's make music together and, like, make music fun. It was like, you need to practice right now, which is why I never did it. So, like, when it came to playing the guitar, definitely not. But I sang everywhere. So, yeah, I totally respect that you can pick these things up later on. I think that's really amazing. And I think
Oh,
that's so cool that you're not a bad guitarist. You did an amazing job playing, what you need to play as well. Like, just, do you really want to be Led Zeppelin or
no,
no?
like, yeah, yeah, to be honest, like, even when I started the guitar, I was like, I want to accompany myself. Like, I don't
Yeah.
really want to be a good guitarist. So yeah, that wasn't
Yeah.
really ever my goal. And like, even I didn't really play the guitar for like 2 or 3 years, I think. Like in between, in my 20s, I was super unmotivated, and I just didn't really pick up on it again. And so when I again started playing the guitar, it was basically because of my songwriting. And
Cool.
yeah, because I was like, I really want to do more things with music. So
Mhm.
I better have an instrument at my hand. And so yeah, just when I, and even then I was like, um, but it's still this instrument, and then there's my singing, which is like my main instrument. So I really want to keep being a singer, and I don't really care about being a good guitarist.
Mhm.
It's just a tool, basically. But yeah, right now I'm kind of like, I don't know if I still want to see it just as a tool. Like,
Okay.
it still mainly is, I think, but I'm a bit more motivated to also make it sound nice.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm a bit more motivated now, or right now. Let's see how long it lasts.
I think that's so awesome though, because it's really about finding that reason. You've got to find that inbuilt reason. I mean, you could read so many calendar sayings that would like tell you about, the motivation comes from within, blah, 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 blah. But it's so true. No matter which one you read, they all say exactly the same thing. That is essentially you have to have that internal motivation rather than the extrinsic all the time to go like, sorry, rather than the external. You've got to have the me mixing up my words. So, that internal motivation of going, okay, actually, I've done the thing that I want to do, and I want to get better at it to make it sound better in for my own playing. I think that's the most. To be honest, like I'm on the same journey as you, but like with my piano. because I totally basically get, I mean, although I have guitars not right behind me now, but usually have guitars behind me, I don't really play apart from performances. I've gotten like full on into playing the piano, and I think that's absolutely fine. I don't think we need to, you give up the flute, but maybe we want to take off a different instrument, or we realize that we need to upskill in one, or life is long. We have a
Yeah,
long
so
time to
right
learn.
now, as you probably saw or know, I then also started playing the ukulele like a few years
Cool.
ago, which I also really love. But I also use the ukulele for my songwriting a bit, but
Mhm.
it's more of like a fun instrument, or like I think it's just like a fun touch to it. Like I also played
Yeah.
the ukulele at some weddings, which I thought was also cool. But it's still like I'm actually visiting a workshop soon on the ukulele,
Oh, cool.
but right now it's still like more of a fun instrument, I'd say. Like
Okay.
just do my strumming and that's it.
That's awesome. Are
And
you gonna do your workshop, sorry to interrupt, are you gonna do your workshop with Benny as again with,
no.
okay.
I knew about the workshop through Benny, but
Sorry,
it
Benny.
it. Sorry. Yeah, I was thinking of visiting another workshop with him actually, but there were some other reasons why I didn't choose that. But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No,
and then I also
cool.
started to play the piano a few years back, and that's really my
Awesome.
like my fun thing. Like, I know I could say, hey, I can also play the piano at a wedding or something, but right now I'm like, I still want to keep this as my, yeah, just like my hobby, because there's no pressure behind it whatsoever. So I
Yeah,
also really like that currently. So
I love
yeah.
that. What was that decision then, like, what was going through your mind when you were making that decision that you wanted to do more with your singing, or sorry, your music in general? Music was coming back, was coming up all the time. You were coming back around to it. What made you kind of make that leap? Was it like an epiphany moment, or did you mull on it for a wee while?
Um, I don't actually know. Like, I can't really pinpoint it to an exact moment, I
Mhm.
think. I think it was just a process. Like, as you said, it just kept coming back to me. And like, I like to sing from an early age. Like I sang in kindergarten. I remember annoying my friends a lot there. So and even when I was like 13, I was like into Blink 182. I had this album that I kept singing, and everyone was super annoyed with me. So yeah. And
I
um
would be too, to be honest, if you were, like, just singing Blink-182, "All the small things truth care." I know that was, like, what my stepbrother played that, like, on repeat, and that
yeah.
was actually my first CD I ever bought for myself, was Blink-182.
Me too, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like so yeah, I like to sing from that age, and I then started some bands in school. Like I think I
Cool.
had one or two bands, like two bands in school, I think.
Mhm.
And I was always the one who really wanted to start it, and who was really motivated to rehearse and things, and who was like, "Oh, let's play some gigs. That will be cool, right?" And then those bands never really worked out. I got into another
Mm.
band in when I was in uni, and they were also like they were super nice bunch of people.
Yeah.
I like all of the bands I've been in, and yeah, super cool people, and also some of them quite talented, and um but there was never really the same motivation as I had.
Mhm.
So I was mostly always the main person saying, "Hey, let's do a gig. Let's do a gig. Can we now do a gig?" And so, and all of them were always like, we kind of have more important things in our lives. Like we don't really want to
Mm.
rehearse as much as we would need to rehearse for a gig."
Yeah.
And we did actually have some like three gigs or something with a band in school, but they were really bad.
I'm
And
not sure that anyone would say, like, that there's school gigs, with school bands are necessarily, like, top
yeah,
quality, but you have to start somewhere. I mean, we
you
can't
have to
always
start
start.
somewhere, yeah. And
Yeah.
And as I said, we were all like really, we were in the middle of puberty, so I think it's
Oh god, that was
okay.
the worst anyway, yeah.
So,
Mhm.
and but yeah, so I had all of these bands, and they never really worked out, and I kept coming back to singing lessons, and then at some point, um, I kind of had of a life crisis. Like I keep having life crises, I guess, but I had a
Okay.
crisis when I was like 26, 28 or something. And I was like, I don't know if design and like this interactive media stuff is what I
Mhm.
really want to keep doing with my life. And I thought about other options for me yeah, to just get into a different field. And I thought about how is this called? What is it called in English? Like the people who speak the dubs for movies or something. You know what I mean?
Ah, the Synchronsprecher?
Yes.
Huh. I don't, I think it's called
Actors, maybe?
a dubbing artist or voiceover artist.
Voice over, or like voice actor, voice
Yeah,
actress,
I think
voice over.
voice actor, voice like
I think
voiceovers, voice
voice
actor, I
over is
think
a
that's what it
different
is.
thing, but they're kind of like the same field,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was really thinking about that because I also had this thought when I was earlier. I thought, oh, that would be cool, a cool thing to do. Like I always kind of liked, I guess, acting and yeah, singing, as you
Mhm.
know. And I was like, that would be really cool to do something with my voice and like get into cool movies or something like that. And I was there was a time when I was trying to get some internships in that field,
Okay.
like um, yeah, similar to an internship thing. And after doing that for a while, I also visited an acting school. So I was thinking about going to acting school actually. And then I was like, but as I kept thinking about it, I was like, I have a feeling that I'm not being really true to myself here because
Okay.
I kept telling myself, okay, I want to do this thing with my voice. And I really had the dream of singing when I was in school. And I kept saying to myself, but I'm not good enough to be a singer. So I was
Mhm.
like, let's just do something else with my voice, something where I don't have to have this talent, or like that I can easily learn in like in an acting school or something. Or
Yeah.
like yeah, you know what I want to say, right? Like I felt like I'm not Britney Spears or something. I wasn't born like this, you know.
Well,
So
you're probably saying to yourself what so many I mean, and, like, I'm not kidding you. I went through recently, like, for some marketing stuff, like, went through all of the introduction forms that people fill out for their first, like, wait call with me. And I was like, "Oh, write down all the reasons why people wanna start singing." And I literally only needed one piece of paper because they all said exactly the same thing, and that was basically they want to sing with more confidence because they feel like they can't sing, or someone's told them they can't sing, or they don't feel like they've got natural talent. Like, there was literally, like, those couple of things were coming up the whole time. I think there was, like, 5 of them. And, yeah, because where do we find out, like, if we're any good, if we don't try it and then people tell us that we're good? Like, it's really hard. I know a couple of people that you hear saying in interviews and stuff like, "Oh, I just, just always wanted to, I just, like, knew that I was good." And it's like, "Well, I don't know. How do you know that you're good? How can you even tell without someone, giving that to you from the outside?" So it's I take my hat off to people that felt that way and sort of felt like, "Oh, I'm me immediately just like amazing." I sure as shit didn't feel that way. I think a lot of it came from external validation of like I wasn't particularly good in school. And so, then I was good at the singing though, and everyone was like, "Oh, well done, Zoe. You should continue on with the singing, like keep up with
mhm.
the singing because the school's not going to do anything for you." So I think that was the reason why I was like, "Oh, okay, keep on getting all this positivity, coming from the singing and things like that." And that's how I got into teaching as well, because, like I hated my degree, so I was just like my singing teacher was like, "Well, teaching, you'll be better than you it'd be better than being a waitress. So it's like, "Ugh, I'll give it a go." You know, if you'd have told me, like, 20 years ago, "Oh, you'll be a teacher," I would have been like, "No, that's not gonna happen." You know, times change, so I think that's really cool that but you're still doing you still have a day job, don't you?
I still do have a day job. I go to the office like 3 times a week. So I
Mhm.
have like 20 hours. But that only came because I got to that point where I was like, okay, I'm trying to be true to myself here. Like I don't want to do anything with my voice, just
Yeah.
something with my voice. I really want to sing. So I was like, okay, then I need a bit I feel I need a bit more time to do that because if I have a full-time job with 40 hours a week, I'm not a person with lots of energy. Like I think I'm below average concerning my energy. So I was like, yeah, there's no way I can do like I can build a business with 40 with like a full-time job. So I was like, but I really want to try it. So I first need
Mhm.
to reduce my other hours, and
Cool.
that's what I did. So here I am. Yeah.
Honestly, I have I'm gonna keep saying this, like, I'm so in awe of that because I think that a lot of people would not be I know a lot of them aren't. I fucking haven't made that step, like, I definitely need to work less to spend more time on my music. So, I definitely I know that there are a lot of people out there going, "Wow, I wish that I had that confidence to take that step," because that's a really hard decision to make. Obviously, you're earning less money, and essentially investing that in your music, and also spending money on your music as well, because music education is not cheap, and and all these workshops and stuff like that. So that's a huge thing, a huge decision for you to make. I think it's amazing because if you're not going to follow your dreams now, you're not going to follow them. The likelihood is going to get even less as you get older. And I think it's really amazing what you've done. But did you then? So you made the decision to work a little bit less, or 3 days a week out of the five, which is, I mean, that's good. You're still, yeah, that's like you're still doing basically like like a part-time job and a full-time job as a musician, basically, because you're trying to do, doing all of the practice and stuff like that. Did you then decide, like, okay, this is a dream of mine to put out my EP, or was this sort of something you said, I feel like I have to have music online?
I think that was a little bit of both.
Okay.
Because I didn't really plan to write my own music, I think, when I
Okay.
started. Yeah, I was just like, I want to sing. I probably want to sing in a band. I want to do weddings. But the writing songs just came with that, I think. Like I was in that difficult phase of my life, as I said earlier. Like I wasn't like sure what to do with my
Mhm.
life in general. And I also went to this coaching back then,
Cool.
which also really helped me a lot with my mindset. And I got really inspired through that because, yeah, I just came to that realization, as I said. I always thought I wasn't good enough, but I really wanted to do the thing. So then I continued thinking, like, why do I think I'm not good enough? Like,
Mhm.
and like, yeah, who says that? I don't know. And so that's how my first song came about. So I just wrote a song about not feeling good enough, or like not feeling enough. So my song's called Enough. Very creative.
Amazing.
And
Mhm.
um, yeah, I then I was like, hey, I like being creative in general. I remember myself sitting in our garden, like when I was, I don't know, 11 or something, and I kind of made up a song. It wasn't like a real song, but I just came up with a little melody and just like a sentence or so. And I thought it was really fun, and I kept singing this this little song. And yeah, when I wrote Enough, I was like, this is really fun. Like I think this could probably be something that I want to keep doing. And yeah, that just brings me joy, and that is a
Yeah.
creative outlet for me. And so possibly also brings in some money. So I was like, okay, this is a cool thing. Like, I think I can do that. So I just kept writing songs, and I was really inspired at the time. So
Cool.
they just that's just how my songs happen, I guess. Yeah.
But that's really awesome because I think a lot of it is, I mean, it may sound like you're saying, and you just said, oh, it just kind of happened like that. I think but you do write, don't you? Like, do you write in a journal, or did you write in general? Did you write poems, or did it literally like just your song just kind of come to you?
I don't. I never really wrote poems or something, but yeah, my songs sometimes just come to me. Yeah, I
Mhm.
realized I didn't really answer part of your other question there. Like, when I had the songs, I was like, okay, now I have these songs. I think maybe some people would like to hear them. Like, I think they're good. Like, I like them, so there
Mhm.
must be some other person who also likes them.
Cool. That's the most
And
important thing.
because I didn't have a thing to show for like getting into weddings as well, I was like, I might just record them so I have something to show. Just to
Cool.
get back to your question before that, but yeah, I think the songwriting is there are some different approaches that I take. Like, as I said, I never really wrote poems.
Okay.
I also never really composed any music like on an instrument or something.
Mhm.
I didn't even improvise a lot on my guitar. Like, I never really knew how to do that. I knew like one scale or something, but I wasn't really motivated to do anything with that. So yeah.
Scales are pretty boring on every instrument, don't you worry.
But yeah, I think the first few songs really just came to me. Like,
Mhm.
I thought about this. Yeah, I had these thoughts of not being enough. I was like, hey, a song would be cool. And then, I don't know, some lines just plopped up in my head, basically. But there are other songs where I'm like, I have this topic that I want to talk about. So I really sit down and I kind of like brainstorm
Mhm.
and start writing things from that. So the lyrics are mostly the first thing that come to me.
Okay.
Or sometimes I have an idea where it's like one or two lines of lyrics with the melody already in my head, like, just,
Mhm.
oh, that would sound cool. I don't know. And then I sit down and like write some other lyrics around that.
Cool.
So yeah, and that actually brings me back to a thing that I wanted to say earlier. You mentioned something about motivation, and like how there are all of these calendar quotes, like saying, yeah, I don't know, motivation, whatever.
There's
It comes,
tons of them, like,
tons of them, and
motion leads to motivation, I don't know, like,
yeah,
movement, motivation is a moving thing. Oh, god knows, anyway, yeah?
yeah.
So many of them.
I think what really helped me with writing my songs as well was not really these calendar quotes, but like, there's some truth behind some of them, I think. And this is
Oh,
what I
definitely.
learned in my coaching as well, that I had, like, which was mostly about mindset. And they also said, like, you can't wait for inspiration or motivation to come. Like, you have to start somewhere. And yeah, so I think even before I really got into songwriting, I did have some song ideas, but they always came like at the stupidest times. Like, I was lying in bed at 12 or something, and then I had like an idea, and I was like, I really want to fucking sleep right now, so I don't really want to have an idea now. And with my songs now, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to wait for an idea to come. Like, there are often ideas coming around now, but I think it's also because I started this motor of inspiration and
Yeah.
ideas coming in. I really saw that when I did a songwriting challenge once.
Mhm.
That was after I had written my first two or three songs by myself, I think.
Cool.
And then there was this person that I knew through social media, and she said, let's do a songwriting challenge. We just try to write a song each day for 9 days. And a song doesn't mean it has to be a finished song, like that you would put on the radio or something, but it can just be like two lines or something. Just an idea is cool.
Yeah.
So whatever you feel you can do in a day. And I was really motivated to take part in that, and I did. And the more I kept thinking about, okay, what could I write today? The more ideas came in already for the next few days. So
Mhm.
um, that's how I got inspiration for a lot of songs. And I think one, two, three songs or so from the challenge I made into like real finished songs.
Amazing.
So yeah, that was really cool, and that really showed me that inspiration is something that you can train, basically, or like yeah, or creativity is something that you can train. And yeah, and sometimes
Oh,
like
definitely.
some people say, like I had this other person on social media just a few weeks ago. She like told me if you're stuck on a song, just leave it be, and the inspiration will come to you. And I was like, yeah, maybe could happen, but I can also just sit down and like really yeah, try and think of new things, and that has also always worked for me.
Yeah.
And I think it's a romantic but also a bit naive thing to say. Maybe I just have to wait for the inspiration and then something good will come. I think you can just, I think you can see this as a job and like sit down and like force it kind of. It might not feel as good maybe at some points. Maybe the result won't be as nice as that big idea that just comes to you, but I think it's a
Mhm.
good starting point and you can totally work with that. So,
I
yeah,
think that's fantastic because I think a lot of people, a lot of it is like you say that you're training this you're training that the inspiration is almost allowed to come in a way as well, because I think sometimes people who want to write music, they'll, as you say, they'll have an inspiration, they'll have this moment and they'll just go, oh no, that's like the wrong time. And then your body will stop though throwing up those ideas to you, and they'll stop throwing up those melodies because they go, oh well, you would just ignore them anyway. So but if you are constantly acting on them and going, okay, well actually I'm going to write this down, or oh that's really cool, I'll quickly write, do something, I'll put it on my phone notes and then I'll come back to it later,
yeah,
and really like nut it out. And there are a lot of songwriting books about, how to write better songs. I think actually the one that I've been reading is just how to write better lyrics. I'll put it in the show notes though. Have you read that one?
no, I haven't read that one. I
It's a real
started reading one book about writing
okay.
lyrics, but I didn't really get far yet. So,
No, fair enough.
yeah.
Write better lyrics. I'll put the link in the show notes. Though it's a really lovely book about writing better lyrics. Is really to the point, but it's full of exercises in order to exactly what you've just said. Like when you're wanting to write a song about coffee, to write all the words associated with coffee, because I think a lot of the time it's actually this decrease in the vocabulary that we've got now, that we actually need to practice these rhymes, these internal rhymes, all of the play on the words. We need to kind of not only like read more, but also, expand our vocabularies that we use, or that we know how to use in songs. And that's something that we have to practice. And writing music it's a muscle, I think.
Totally.
Um, I
Yeah.
mean, was I read recently Dua Lipa wrote, I think was it like 93 songs or something like that for the current album.
Wow.
And but she was sitting down in a room with like four songwriters. So, if you're sitting in the room with like a producer and, doing all of the stuff with the beats and like creating the sounds for you, and you're like, oh, I really want it to be like, doo, tst, boo, boo, and they're like, oh, you mean like this, so it's like, it makes a huge difference to being a solo person on the piano, because you've got someone to constantly, got a couple of people to, shoot back ideas. Um, and it does make that writing process, I suppose, a little bit faster. I've never written with other people. Oh, no, actually, I tell a lie. I used to do that when I was at high school. I used to write songs a lot, and they were very depressed. Very, very depressive, all about killing myself when I
Okay,
was
cool as
16 years
well.
old. So that,
Cool.
I mean, obviously I'm still alive. I didn't do it. But the I got really turned off writing music because people were like, "Oh no, that's too dark," or "Oh no, you can't say that," and things like that. And I think it's really important, whoever's listening, I think it's important to write about what you feel is your truth. And I'm a firm believer that like whatever you believe to be true was, someone else's version of events might is their version of the events, and your version of is your version, and that's your truth, and that's what you should write about. um and I think it's not necessarily about writing for other people. Obviously, if you get to Billie Eilish's level, where you're writing for specific projects is a bit different, but they're sort of like they're well in the groove. We're talking about starting something. But do you feel then so after you've written your EP, have you got plans now to do a second one, or are you focusing on using that now to sort of gain momentum for your weddings and for your performances, or are you in a like a moment of upskilling at the moment before you do another one?
I would love to do another one. I would love to do a lot more songwriting if I,
Cool.
if, if,
Okay.
if I had the time and money to do so. No, maybe I should also add that I'm really lucky to like have my husband that also enables me to like do these things. Like I think I would have gotten to do some of the things that I did, like record my EP without him, but I think at this point it's a lot of his sponsoring as well that goes into it. So um, I'm totally with you, because you said earlier like you don't have to be born into like a musical family or something. Like I
Mhm.
also think you don't have to have a lot of money to start. You just always should start somewhere, and then if you like it, you will find a solution probably. You can put it as you want, but releasing music is it is really expensive. Like not just the recording. You could do the recording by yourself, of course, but you would have to get equipment for that, and
Yeah.
you would have to learn how to use the equipment. Of course, you can do that with YouTube videos, but this is not what I want. What I want to do, like as I said,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed being in the studio, having another person, as you said, like coming back at me with ideas um, and helping me out and like doing the fun stuff. And yeah, so I still want to do more things that I like though, and
Mhm.
that don't cost me as much money. Because even if you did record everything at home, even if you learned using the equipment with YouTube, you would still have to pay for your music to actually get released, right?
Yeah.
So it's still like you can put it any way you want, but I still think it's always a bit of an expensive hobby. Like,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
yeah, there are some hobbies that are expensive, and you can totally do that, but it's not what I want to do. Like,
Mhm.
I had this dream to live from music at some point. Like,
Cool.
it doesn't have to be next year or so. It's already taking longer than expected, but that's where I really see myself, and this is really what I want to do. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, then I should start thinking of ways that I can earn money with music. So
Yeah.
and it's not releasing music at this point. Maybe at some other point, but not
Mhm.
right now. And so
I think it's very short-sighted to think like you're gonna chuck a couple of albums on Spotify, or a couple of things on Spotify, and expect to earn a truckload of money. If you're okay with it, because I didn't ask you in advance, but are you okay to tell? Because I am a well, I'm actually have no idea how much this stuff costs. I know that DistroKit, is it, where you like put your music out there?
yes,
That's sort of like, what did I pay? I think like 45 euros or something for a year. And then it costs like per track something per month. How
exactly.
much was it again?
Yeah, it's about that. Like, it of course depends on where you go, like which platform you use, and what
Yeah.
they always have these bonuses that you can also have. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something about 30 to 40 euros. I think that is per year. I think, and then you
I
always
think it was per year. It didn't come across as being like I never used it, but it didn't come across as being expensive. I just remember that covers were then
it's not
one.
it's not super expensive, but then you
No.
have this other fee that's per song. Like if you want your song, for example, to still be up on the platforms when you quit using that platform that you uploaded it with, it already costs like $30 more or something. So so yeah, it always adds up, and
Mhm.
yeah, but kind
I
of.
know a cover is €1 per song per month
Oh, okay.
for covers to be on the platform. So,
Oh,
like, you pay your 45 or whatever it is, or 30 or something for the actual to have just the access to the putting your music on the platform, and then to keep it on something like Spotify, yeah, €1 per song per month.
that could
So,
be. Mm.
relatively expensive, which, if you're thinking about doing covers. Am I allowed to ask how much it cost for you for your EP? So you did 4 songs.
That was quite expensive, but yeah, for the four songs, I paid 1,500 euros.
Cool.
So, I think if I had done it like song per song, it would have been like yeah, 300 to 400 euros per song.
Okay.
So, but I thought it was totally worth the money. I thought.
Yeah.
I was really happy to pay that money. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
take it, you deserve it.
But
I love
but
what you did.
1,500's not actually
It's
expensive,
not,
like, in terms of, like, what I know music producers out there charge, that's not
and
necessarily expensive.
so funny though because like I hear so many different things. Like it also depends on who you talk to, of course. Like you're a person who knows
Yeah.
things about music and the music industry. You work in the music industry, and you say that. There's also been another musician who has really a lot of experience, a lot of band experience. He had a band that toured like a lot, and they earn a lot of money from it. And he was also like, "Oh yeah, okay." He wasn't really surprised. Let me say that. And I think he also thought it was a bit cheap, like on the cheaper side. He was like, "Yeah,
1,500 is yeah, it's
it
like
can be
depending on how
a
many instruments you have. Yeah.
yeah, it can be a lot more expensive producer."
Yeah.
So that's what he said.
Yeah.
So, and then there are other people though. I always keep thinking about this guy. I didn't actually know him, but he apparently was also like producing some songs, like as
Okay.
a hobby, I think. And he was like, "That is too expensive." You well, we're tricked. I don't know. You're stupid to pay that much money. He said like to me like the first time we met, and I was like, "Whoa, what is going on with you?" As I said, I was happy to pay that amount of money,
But
and
you're and I also in the show notes, like, put a link to your work because I think it's fantastic, and I love and also it's really about I agree, that I mean, to me, that I've also seen people that do it cheaper, but I've also seen people that do it way more expensive. I think I just looked recently at someone to produce some tracks for me, and literally it was like a grand a song just for mixing and mastering. Like, that wasn't even and that's, if you had like an orchestra in the background, like maybe like a couple of instruments or something like that. He said, approximately like a day, which is about a grand in his studio. But he also mixes a couple of other people that I follow on YouTube, and I was like, oh, I really love the sound that he's getting out of these singers, and I was quickly just like, I'll see about that for like later dates of when I really want to sink some money into this. But I think that's totally reasonable. Actually, it's sort of approximately. I ask friends of mine perform, do these sorts of things, and put EPs out, and I'm always very curious to ask what the going rate is at the
yeah,
moment,
yeah,
and I think that's about fair because look, in the end, you're paying for quality as well. So, you paid your 1,500, but you also had someone, you didn't have to do any recording yourself. in, in your own room, stuff about with that stuff. You didn't have to dish out for, if you're looking for a good recording mic, even just this podcast mic, this is like 370 euros or something like that. So, you're looking at like a good mic. He probably had a couple of microphones that were probably worth 2.5 grand that you recorded with. So you are also, uh, hiring, you could say, hiring their equipment, hiring their studio for the day, and obviously their expertise to sit behind. And it's so much easier to have someone go, please just do that pickup from the and think I'll try, rather than going like, oh my God, where was I? Walk around the piano again, like push stop. And it's just so much more time intensive. And sometimes when you're in the flow, especially if you've got a producer,
Exactly.
he
Yeah.
because if you only if I mean if you no, I'm not saying only, but if you only play the guitar, right, on your tracks, you did he produce the rest of it for you?
Yes. Yes. I
Okay.
play the guitar and the ukulele
Cool.
on the track. Yeah. But
Awesome.
yeah, he did all of the rest. Like he played the bass, he played the drums. Like not on all of the songs, but
I mean, I've made this mistake where I've gone for like the cheapest person on Fiverr, and I've gotten the cheapest result on Fiverr back again. Julian, I think this is just like, honestly, I think it's really amazing what you're doing. How are you managing with feedback from your album? Obviously, you've put a lot of, sorry, your EP album, whichever one we want to call it. When we look at the definitions, so when you're, how are you noticing like feedback coming back from it? Has it all been positive?
like what I've heard has been
Cool.
mostly positive. But um, this is another thing I wanted to say earlier. Like, um, it's not just releasing something and then it's out there and then everybody hears it, right? So there's a lot more behind that. Like, as you also said earlier, like, being a musician, you're not just a musician like these days. Maybe it was
Hmm.
different a few years ago, but if you are like an independent artist, most of these are starting out, they're doing all of the things themselves, like not just writing songs but also the marketing
Yeah.
things, like as you also do.
Yeah.
Like, and
I
it's
think people think
so
I have like this big team behind me. I really don't.
yeah. And so it's the same with, yeah, releasing music. There
Hmm.
is a lot of marketing behind these things, like promotion. I don't know what's the difference, but like, I put
I think
these
promotion and
songs out.
marketing are pretty much the same.
Yeah, and I didn't really do a lot of marketing. Like I did a bit,
Okay.
and I do have a handful of listeners on Spotify. So it's not like nobody is finding my songs, but
Hmm.
most of the people listening to my songs are people that I know, and they
Cool.
gave me positive feedback.
As we sort of like bring our discussion to a close, because it's been so lovely to chat with you about music and what you've been doing, can you tell us what's coming up next? What can we look forward to?
My new song.
What's
That
your
will,
new song called?
my new song is called Just a Little Bit, and it will
Cool.
come out sometime this year. I
Just a
don't know when
little bit.
exactly, but um, in the next few months, I think it should be out
Cool.
by summertime.
What would be the one piece of advice before we finish? What would be the one piece of advice that you would give to people or give to even yourself 5 years ago when you decided to sort of start this journey?
This is so dumb, but I think the best sort of advice is just start. And what my coach back then always said was like, start before you're ready. So don't wait for you to be good enough or like to have learned some specific thing before you're even starting. Just think about what you can do now and just do it. Don't listen to anyone else, and just, if it feels good, if you like it, just put it out there.
I love it. I think that's an amazing note to end on. Thank you so much for joining me, Julian. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. Shoot, I'm thinking of one more thing that I should have said.
What? Tell it to me. I'll add it in. I'm still recording anyway.
Yeah, so like what really made a huge difference for me in 2020, when like I said I started like all of these things was like just to also say that I'm a singer. That
Mm-hmm.
made a huge difference for me because, as I said before, that I had the self doubt to not be enough. So I also didn't really tell anyone. Like I would never have told anyone like I'm a singer. I had this badge on my back from one of my first bands that said singer, and I love that one. But I didn't. I think I didn't really believe it myself most of the
Mm-hmm.
years. So, and just in 2020, I was like, I'm just really gonna say it now. Like I feel like I keep coming back to singing and I really want to be a singer, so I'm just gonna start saying that I am a singer. And I think that also makes a huge difference just in your mindset, like how
Yeah.
you think about these things. And like even if you're like stuck, if you're starting and you're thinking like, okay, what am I gonna do next? I kind of think it helps to have an approach like that. Just say you're a singer, and then you can start thinking, okay, what would a real singer do? Like they would
Mm-hmm.
probably sing or rehearse or yeah, maybe write songs. So these are points that just help you start somewhere, I think. So
Yeah. Oh, I
just
totally agree with you. I think it's so important because in the end, really, what is a singer? Someone who sings, you know. So, and I think that that's the main thing of going. You are this thing, and I don't think it needs. You even said like that you thought that what you said was dumb about you just need to start. I don't think that's dumb at all. I think that's something that a lot of people don't comprehend, that you actually just like in order to kind of get out of your head, you just have to fucking start. You have to make sure that it's not even about making it perfect. I really love this podcast and a YouTube channel called Think Media. And they always say, like, start messy, but start before you're ready. It's exactly what you just said.
yeah.
And they talk a lot about that. And they say, don't wait for the perfect camera, put your phone up there. Just like, just shoot that first video, shoot record that first song, just get it out, get it done. Because if you're constantly waiting for that better microphone, that better camera, that better this, the next step, you're going to be waiting for such a long time. And honestly, that's where I was. That was me, and that's why I wanted to invite you on, because I was just so in awe that and I was the complete opposite to you in terms of, I didn't start singing lessons very young, but I started music very young. And then I studied music, and then I went through all of this into my master's, and I still didn't feel the confidence to put my music out there, because my singing teacher had said to me, like, don't put anything out there unless you know that it's like your best work. And I was like waiting for this sort of.
What is this person? Ah.
Exactly. I know, because and it was ridiculous because I had sort of like been umming and ahhing with her about like, oh, I'd really like to start my YouTube channel. I've been thinking about that. And she was like, no. And this was, 10, 15 years ago. She was like, no, you shouldn't do that until, be really careful because you get blacklisted by casting directors, like,
Oh gosh, that
which
is
was
terrible.
which was insane. And which is ridiculous anyway, because like you like, yeah. Unfortunately, I was very much in a place of like I did everything that everybody ever told me to, rather than like trusting my own instincts. And so I took this person who I really, really trusted, and I was like, okay, well, obviously they know best, rather than following this impetus that I had to start this channel. And I think that's why it's so important to me that I keep saying, what do you want? What do you want to do? Instead of it always just being about what does your teacher want you to do, or what does that person who's training you. In the end, it's all we're all in this, we're all in this together. We're doing it all. We are in this together. It's a team exercise, like I help singers reach their voice goals, not the voice goals that I impose on them. And that's really important to start. And that's why I loved what you said about starting your, just getting onto it. And you're like, I've got the song idea. I'm going to get onto it, and I want to write the song, and I'm going to make it more like a job, because that's what it ends up being really about actually putting in that effort that you know you want to put in, rather than sort of sitting there going, "Oh God, I wish I had a better ability to make music." I like that you're going out there and you're going for it, and you've decided, I want to become, someone who lives from the money that I earn from music, and in order to kind of as well feed back into the music so that you can do more recordings and do more of that. Um I think it's awesome, because I think a lot of the time people just sort of like stuff about, and rather than just like getting on with it, which is also fine. If people are happy to just like sort of float through their music, is not a problem. I just feel like you took this opportunity and you're like running with it, and I think it's really cool.
Thank you.
Love it.